and welcome to the History Lessons in Edupedia World. Today we are going to continue with the examples of settlements, of Neolithic settlements, to see how we know what we gave in the last lessons. Because in this period we basically only have information from what has been found in archaeological digs. What do these sites tell us? So, having done a big overview and have studied the Neolithic Revolution, let's see with specific examples how we know what we know. We first started with the example of La Draga in Catalonia, Spain. Today we're going to Scotland in the UK. I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this correctly. It's the settlement of Skra Brae in the north of Scotland. I'm not sure if you can see it correctly, if you can see my mouse here. This is Scotland, the north part of the UK, the island, the largest island in the UK. The top part that looks like a hat, it's been told, that is Scotland. And even norther than that, you have various Scottish islands, and here we have the settlement that we're going to talk about today. This is it. You can have a big view of what was found and what you can visit today. It looks really nice and well preserved, and it is. It's given us incredible information, but it has the story of its discovery and finally getting to study it has been rather problematic, as you'll see. Let's start with the first part. This site had been, during centuries and millennia, was covered with sand and earth. It was just an irregular field, we could say, and a part of the island where you had various mounts. No one actually gave it a second thought until 1850, when a severe storm hit Scotland and stripped the earth from this large irregular area, uncovering this small ancient village. What happened? Well, the local authorities did try an amateur dig at the time, so they did acknowledge that it was interesting and important, but 18 years later it was abandoned. This site needed real work. They did the best they could, obviously, but let's remember that if we had amateurs doing the work, this means we lost a lot of information here. This has happened in many sites, but you'll see that it's amazing how this one, after going through everything, has still given us amazing information. This is not the only problem that they faced. In 1914, during a weekend, a large party of people pillaged the site, and it's unknown to this to this day the quantity of artifacts that might have been taken. We know that many things were taken from the site, We don't know how many and how important they could have been. And finally, yes, there's still more. In 1924, a second storm, like the first one, destroyed most of one house that was next to the sea. It was not until this moment, seeing the destruction that was going in this village, that it was decided, finally, to make it a secure zone and study it correctly. So, as I said, finally, this was given to the University of Edinburgh to start studying and discovering the amazing things that lied in these old ancient houses. Why is it so special? Well, it is ancient. 3200 BC. This is older than Stonehenge and older than the Great Pyramids. Wow! Actually, a curiosity is that it's been called the Scottish Pompeii. The reason is because of its excellent state of preservation. You see the structures, it's stunning. They contain stone furniture, dresses, beds, cupboards, everything that the settlers must have needed. And it's all made of stone. Why? Well, one resource that is actually lacking in the island is wood. There are almost no trees in the area, so, as humans are smart and witty, what they did was use construction materials that they had in hand, so everything was made of stone. The beds, the cupboards, the furniture, the houses, everything. Thanks to that, we still have them nowadays. This village was originally quite inland. We see it now next to the beach, but geography has changed during the years and the centuries, so we have to bear in mind that this was not at that moment in the same landscape that we see today. The people that lived here, we know that they were farmers, that they also hunted, and yes, they also fished. And we've found so many objects that explain their daily life. Pots, bone pins, necklaces, carved stone balls, red ochre. We'll see them further on. Let's first have a look at the houses. Well, you see these little houses that are quite unique. They have this hobbit look alike because they use this technique of earth sheltering. How does this technique work? Well, what you do is you sunk the construction in the ground. They use these natural mounts to construct their houses inside them or around them. Why do you do this? Well, first, it gives you great stability. If you start building walls, it's less stable. If you sink it inside the land, it's a much tougher construction. Also, it helps you with the insulation from the weather. If you've ever been up north to Scotland, Edinburgh, for instance, I'm pretty sure you've seen that it can get real cold. Cold, snowy, and wet. Imagine even further north, in these islands, at the very top of Scotland. The winters here are harsh. Real harsh. So these people needed to protect themselves real well. Also, inside, as we'll see in the photographs, there's a large square in the room. Here they kept a stone hearth that was used for heating. As it's traditionally used in many places, you have in the center of the house where you cook, and as you cook with fire normally, you use it to warm up the house and to keep everyone warm. As being in the center, it distributes the heat around evenly. From the size of this settlement, we believe that, or it's believed, then you wouldn't really have more than around 50 people. It was quite a large settlement for the time, but it didn't get larger than 50. You wouldn't get to 100 and 200 or 300 like places in the Middle East. Understandably, it is not the most welcoming place, especially, as I said, in winter. It can get really cold. Also, we haven't only found houses. One of the constructions was filled with pieces of tools. So you had flintstones, you had pieces of bows and arrows, and everyday utensils. So it's believed that not only this was a residential area, but that you actually had buildings that specialized in construction of objects. So you would have a workshop, and this also coincides with what we were talking about, that people start specializing in different areas, not only in trying to provide for your family and or the tribe and getting the nutrition you need. People are starting to work on other things. There are actually some curiosities that are quite unique to this area. There's been found in this settlement, for instance, a number of quite enigmatic carved stone balls. They have been found, and you don't know, they haven't been associated to some specific use. Some people say they were maybe doorknobs or decoration, but some of them have symbols, runic symbols. Things that could be interpreted as writings. They've been found all over northern Scotland and Ireland. Some of them have, for example, spiral ornaments, and it's been linked to different other findings in other places. These symbols, we actually don't know much about them, and very few look damaged. They don't have any signs of use, and they haven't been able to put into context. It is quite a mystery for us yet. Even today, they found them, but we don't have the pieces of the puzzle. We don't have any complementary information that could shed some light into this. That is the problem of archaeology, and especially in this period. We have so little information, or we only have the information given to us by what is found in archaeological digs? Do you have any idea? Could be multiple reasons. Some other thing that has been found in this settlement were lumps of red ochre, found also in other settlements. So what's been interpreted is as evidence that those people were using body paint as a practice. We don't know for sure, but as I've mentioned before, we have this, so we interpret that it might have been using body paints. So these are two of quite enigmatic objects found in this settlement. There's been many other artifacts found here, especially made of animal bones, teeth, antlers, various things. Especially they've been found pieces made of fish, various fish, bird bones, whale bones, walrus, ivory, and curiously, you have killer whale teeth that has been used to create awls, needles, knives, beads, shovels, small ivory bowls, and even some ivory pins. There are these remarkable ivory pins that are up to 10 inches, 25 centimeters long. It is also something that they've been used, sandstone, cobbles, and various knives. I find it quite curious that they used so much from the killer whale. I don't think they could kill one themselves, but in the area there must have been some, and when they found one, they used everything thoroughly. Many objects have actually kept, thanks to, like the previous settlement we saw, being waterlogged. So probably thanks to that, the pillagers didn't get it. Also, there was found some organic materials like pieces of wood, but that is quite exceptional. It's not in the same case as the last settlement we looked at. It's not the same case as La Draga. But there's been also quite a controversy on why this settlement was abandoned. We've mentioned that it's been called the Scottish Pompeii, and there's a theory that the settlement was abandoned in a rush because of some natural disaster, like a big storm, like the ones that actually discovered the site, but this big storm was threatening to cover the site with sand and earth, and the people had to flee. In the book Circles and Standing Stones from Evan Hardingham, he says, quote, "As it was the case at Pompeii, the inhabitants seemed to have been taken by surprise and fled in haste. For many of the prized possessions, such as necklaces made from animal teeth and bone, or pins of walrus ivory, were left behind. The remains of choice meat joints were discovered in some of the beds, presumably forming part of the villagers' Last Supper. One woman was in such a haste that her necklace broke as she squeezed through the narrow doorway of her home, scattering a stream of beads along the passageway outside as she fled to the encroaching sand." End quote. This is one of the theories. There's this apocalyptic theory that in this natural disaster, everyone fled quickly and everything was abandoned. There is another theory that says that the settlement was covered by sand and earth gradually, but that the settlement must have been left and abandoned because of unknown causes. So, for the moment, until someone discovers something new, we'll never know for sure. I hope you enjoyed seeing these examples, and thanks for watching. See you in the next lesson.